Good evening, and welcome to our continuing series, Explorations in Savitri, with our brother Alok. We are possibly concluding Canto 10, Kingdoms and Godheads of the Little Mind today. We're beginning on the last line of page 257. And I wanted to suggest something to all of us and to all our listeners. You know, Savitri is so sacred. Mother wrote to me 3 times on Savitri. And in our last session, just to point out a couple of things that we could meditate on for hours, or we may find, when all the rest has failed, hid in ourselves the key of perfect change. And then again, in the bright kingdoms of the rising sun, all is a birth into a power of light. And again, on the next page, the truth is known only when all is seen. See, we can meditate on these lines for hours.
Yes.
So tonight we have an extraordinary beginning line. Our ignorance is wisdom's chrysalis.
Yes.
Just imagine that.
Just since you mentioned it, meditating upon the lines, we have the yoga of the Upanishads and the Vedas, and often people ask how to follow this yoga. The answer that comes spontaneously to me, which I have, and Sri Aurobindo himself has actually spoken about it, is by meditating upon the lines till the truth is revealed. It's not by a scholarly understanding, but by meditating upon the lines. So, Sri Aurobindo's famous experience of Alipur jail, Vasudevam Sarvamiti Samahatma cha Durlabha, he actually he describes it, walking from the cowshed to the jail, where people were making things. So he would walk up and down because the jailer, he says that it was the play of Vasudeva and he had given him permission to walk for some time outside the jail. And he would walk, and these 2 slokas from the Isha Upanishad, Yasmin Sarvani Bhutani, that one, and the other one, Tatra ko moha ka shokai katvam anupashyata. He would recite it within himself and walk up and down. And of course, he had the great vision of the one divine everywhere. So, that is the path which has been left for us. And there is a difference between the Vani of the Rishi and the normal yogic philosophy. Sri Aurobindo, I read today a very beautiful passage in Bengali writing. He says the Rishi is not a saint or a holy man. He is somebody who has the mantra, who has ascended to the higher planes of consciousness. And therefore, at whatever level, he has the mantra. His speech, his writing, it's mantric. It carries that ring of the higher truth. And even when he is not aware, eternity speaks through him. And he tells it in reference to the Bande Matram, where he says that Bankim Chandra had the mantra. So he was a Rishi. That's why he uses the word Rishi Bankim Chandra. Because he had that mantra, somewhere the higher planes were using him as an instrument.
He also speaks in the section on knowledge that he has heard people who were basically ignorant, speaking with a higher knowledge that it was impossible for most people.
And the mother gives a concrete example of this, what can happen by the divine touch, with reference to a girl who could speak marvelous things when she was in that state. But once she was out of that state, she was just like anyone else. Of course, in this yoga, because it's a yoga of transformation, that state has to be continuous and conterminous with life. And we are so privileged that Sri Aurobindo is a rishi and a yogi. It's a very rare combination. Not all yogis are rishis and not all rishis are yogis. This is...
And Mother speaks also about how much Sri Aurobindo walked doing his sadhana.
Yes.
And so in the jail also he walked. And,
It was his method. Yes.
and we know the story of the room overlooking the great tree,
Yes.
in which his footprints wore into the wooden floor.
Yes.
He walked so much.
You know, in Bodh Gaya, where Buddha had done his yoga, you actually have the footprints of Buddha walking along a certain path. But there's a difference, they preserved it
Yeah.
and we just covered it.
We put linoleum down.
Of course, at least we could have literally walked. So we'll continue further. It's a very beautiful line. We can continue with one line just above that. One day the face must burn out through the mask. So this mind is a mask, but what stands behind it is supermind. And look at this line, as you said, this one line is so powerful, it gives hope. It will. He is giving us an assurance that is bound to. And that's why Sri Aurobindo said supermind is inevitable in the very logic of things. Even if nothing was to happen, still it would manifest. The only difference is that by yoga we can make it happen in 1,000 years what would take millions of years. Our ignorance is wisdom's chrysalis. So chrysalis is normally a word used for this, like the pupa of a butterfly. So it's something an external coat. And it covers and it constricts. So chrysalis does two things. One, it secretly is nurturing the butterfly, but the caterpillar is thinking that it is constricting it. And the mother speaks of this, when she speaks about if only man could consent to be spiritualized,
Yeah.
that he is feeling a pressure from all directions, and it is also because a secret yoga is going on. Unfortunately, he is still falling back on the old solutions, which includes the lawyer, the doctor, the policeman, and the politician. Whereas hid deep in us the key of perfect change. It's a chrysalis, but what is holding inside within and preparing it to emerge, that is the truth. Our error weds new knowledge on its way. This is how the journey goes. Another place Sri Aurobindo writes in Savitri, our errors are his steps upon the
His
way. Footsteps upon the way.
Yes.
So we should not be afraid or worried. At one place, Mother speaks of this, She says, because of the fear of error, we stop doing any action. Because we may fall, we may make mistakes. But this is how the journey, as we proceed through the tangled anarchy of life, through works where we do not know, we are in ignorance, slowly knowledge dawns. So the process is being described that as we proceed, knowledge comes and we grow in consciousness. It's not like today I am ignorant, tomorrow I am all knowing. It doesn't work like that. Because it's like a blinding light. So our error weds new knowledge on its way. Its darkness is a blackened knot of light. Thought dances hand in hand with nescience.
What a line.
On the grey road that winds towards the sun. What more, assurance.
A grey road, though.
Yes. And thought, which is actually the birth of thought, is from the highest realms. And yet it is dancing with nescience on the way. Look at it's not just, it's dancing, it's happy. It's happy to be with nescience. It doesn't, and it calls it knowledge. And yet in this dance, there is something else which is guiding its steps. Through the grey road, it's moving towards the sun. It's so picturesque. Someone could possibly, make a painting out of it. Even while her fingers fumble at the knots which bind them to their strange companionship, into the moments of their married strife, sometimes break flashes of the enlightening fire. So they are married and they are quarreling like most people, and they are trying to open the knot. It's a whole image.
It is.
And they are not able to open it. Yet, in the course of the journey, time to time, there are flashes which are coming, and they are the ones which are burning the knot, And this thought and nescience, they are thinking it's their effort. It's trying, but flashes are coming and
The enlightening fire.
enlightening fire. Even now, great thoughts are here that walk alone. Armed, they have come with the infallible word in an investiture of intuitive light. That is a sanction from the eyes of God. So often, when people say, "Oh, nobody understands what I am feeling, what I am thinking," I said, good sign. It's not the common lot. Whatever else it is, but at least it's your thoughts are not like everybody else's. That's why. And someone once told me that, Shobit is so difficult to understand. I said that is an evidence that he is divine. Because divine is so difficult to understand. But this is a complexity. You try reducing divine into any simple formula, and if you walk with open eyes, you will see it doesn't work. You will be forced to conclude there is something which I don't understand. So that is a proof that he is divine. So he's talking of great solitary thoughts that walk alone.
And a few of them I have here, where he speaks of the overmental influence in certain poets.
Yes.
And he quotes Shakespeare.
Yes.
In the dark, backward, and abysm of time. He quotes Milton, these thoughts that wander through eternity, and Wordsworth, the winds come to me from the fields of sleep.
Just imagine. So marvelous this
So
is.
there are these great thoughts.
Announcers of a distant truth they flame, arriving from the rim of eternity. So rim of eternity is of course the overmind. So they come from there and they enter into the human brain even now. And they come announcing the future. If fire shall come out of the infinitudes, a greater gnosis shall regard the world, crossing out of some far omniscience on lustrous seas from the still rapt alone, to illumine the deep heart of self and things. So you see, it's a whole journey which is describing from the little mind, its highest steps, then how Sri Aurobindo reveals how it is an ignorance, it has its own field of action, yet it is an ignorance, it cannot comprehend the whole, it sees things in bits and parts, and then he's speaking of the greater gnosis, which can reveal the heart of things,
Yes.
the secret self of things. It's only in that light that one can truly know. A timeless knowledge it shall bring to mind, its aim to life, to ignorance, its close. This is the final remedy. All other remedies are intermediaries. So, but some people like intermediaries. It's okay to use intermediaries, but it is dangerous to think that they are final remedies. That's the only thing. To ignorance, it's close. It's only with the coming of the supermind, because there all possibility of error is eliminated. Even in the overmind gnosis, there is a possibility of error, however small. That's why Sri Aurobindo asked the mother to dissolve that creation.
Yes.
And now with this he describes what lies beyond, as if there is a glance from the level of the mind to what is above it. Then he will enter that world and describe it. So Savitri is really, it's like a journey, traveler of the worlds. So standing on the mind, he is looking at what is beyond, and look at the description. Above, in a high, breathless stratosphere. We know that when we go out of earth, there is actually a stratosphere. And he is describing that, where the earth atmosphere is no more, it's very, very mild. And the beauty of this is that the gravitational pull becomes much less. So the moment you start ascending into these realms, the pull of earth nature, the downward pull, it becomes markedly less.
And he calls it breathless.
Yes, stratosphere. The earth atmosphere which we breathe, this poison, that is, it cannot reach. Overshadowing the dwarfish trinity, which we have just read, the threefold little mind, lived aspirants to a limitless beyond. We have these vision of Dante, where it speaks of these tires, planes of consciousness, where people are sitting on mountain tops. And we have a very remarkable vision of Sri Ramakrishna, where he sees a little child come, and there is a sage who is meditating on one of these higher planes of consciousness. And he goes and pulls him, this child pulls him, come down, come down. So the sage opens his eyes, and then he said, okay. And you know who is the child and who is the sage on the higher levels? The child is Sri Ramakrishna and the sage is Swami Vivekananda. Yes, look, but child is, of course, the child, this is a divine child, pulls him. So there are beings in these higher worlds who are meditating, aspirants to the beyond, but sometimes they come back because they are moved by the impulse to save mankind. That's why you see in Swami Vivekananda's that refrain that till a single person is suffering in hell, I would continue to labor and suffer. Because he came down with that whole impulsion. Captives of space, walled by the limiting heavens, in the unceasing circuit of the hours, yearning for the straight paths of eternity. So still there is space and time in these higher realms, but a totally changed sense of space and time. Eternal is much later. And they are looking for the straight path. And from their high station, look down on this world. Two sun-gaze demons witnessing all that is.
That's very powerful.
Very powerful. So these demons, this is not demon, of course. I'm sure the demon is supernatural beings, celestial beings. It's used DAE. I think it's a Greek word
rather than DEM.
Yeah. So they are watching from above this earthly race. You know that vision of Eshadi where she sees Sri Aurobindo going in a chariot along with Dilip Kumar Roy and I think was it Nirodha and one more person. So Pavitrada, and she asks that, what is it that I saw? He said, yes, they are with me. Time to time they go out to see the condition of the world. So she says, even my mama, she couldn't believe it. Because Dilip Kumar Roy had these issues and he had left and gone. He said, yes, he is with me. It doesn't matter.
Do you remember the line where Sri Aurobindo speaks about two beings accompanying us on our journey on earth? It's in Savitri and I don't.
Yes.
I don't recall.
Yeah, it will come, suddenly it will come.
Yeah.
But there is also description of the mother of Pavitra, whom she saw sitting in a great vehicle and going at night to see the world. And when Pavitrada fell sick and eventually he left his body, she says that there is a conversation, long conversation. And then she says that he took upon himself whole lot of problems of the world. That's why he went through so much outward suffering. Often people ask, how come, some of the disciples, they go through so much of difficulties and challenges? Precisely because they should have been those disciples. They are not here to do some easy task. Nishikanto. So, with Pavitrada, she actually mentions that I saw him go in a great vehicle. He would see the condition of the world and take upon himself a lot of suffering of others because he had initially a very Buddhist leaning. And so he went through all this, cancer of the bone.
Who are these two sun-gaze demons?
No, these are not two. Not two in sense of quantitative two, in all likelihood. So, this is most likely referring to the two eyes. So the look of these beings was like celestial beings, gods watching upon earth. Otherwise, there are supposed to be 7 archangels in the Christian tradition, but that comes, archangels
but
come
sun
later.
gaze, able to look into the sun.
Yeah. Or moved by the sight of the sun. Their orbs are filled with that sight.
Their gaze is like the sun's gaze.
Yes, like the sun's gaze. And yet they are still living in higher space. A power to uplift the laggard world. So they have this power also to help mankind. So people who often ask, what about Mother and Sri Aurobindo, even Vivekananda and those beings, They are there, they are watching over us. And I remember very simply as children, we were told our parents, when they pass away, they watch over us. And of course, they are their parents are generally ignorant beings who have gone past. So they are beings who watch over us. And again, Ishadi's vision where she sees Sri Aurobindo, and this is in 90s, and she says, I know India is going down, it will go down, 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 then I am going to uplift the country. So they're not like mothers, again, that the assurance that you will never leave the earth atmosphere till your work is accomplished. That is the message she gave on, I think, 12th December, or toward the end of, after a week of Sri Aurobindo's physical withdrawal. That Lord, thou hast given us the assurance that you will remain here intact, not only as a consciousness that sees and understands, but as a dynamic power. So, from these higher planes, they could be in any of these higher planes and watch over Earth's life and help the laggard. Even Amrita, there is the story that when he left the body, he told mother that my soul will be with you, but leave my vital free to help others.
Yes.
And for him, mother had said he is the last, one and only manager. You know that?
Yeah.
Amrita is the one and only manager of the ashram. There never will be another manager of the ashram. So these are the beings who watch and help. Imperious rode a huge, high-winged life thought. Look, this is the Vedic Maruts. High-winged life thoughts.
Yes.
You can see some of the Vedic gods actually working together in tandem. High-winged life thought, unwont to tread the firm, unchanging soil. Unwont. It is not accustomed to this, this kind of soil in which we live. That's why beings of this world find very difficult to understand mental things and so-called practical things and managing worldly affairs, because they feel themselves a stranger in this field. So unwont. It's a very archaic word actually.
Yes.
Yes.
An unchanging soil.
Unchanging. This soil they cannot, which is rigid, hard. Even the Divine Mother, once when she is sitting and all these children are sitting in front of her, she one day contemplates, why I am pouring so much, why they are so unconscious.
Yeah.
So she enters into their consciousness and she goes into very rigid, dark realm. And she says, then at the end, of course, bottom rock, she touches the spring of new creation. And then she says that she went through that narrow passage, most stifling.
I might remember it.
Yes, it's 1958.
At the very bottom of the inconscience, most hard and rigid and narrow and stifling, I struck upon an almighty spring that cast me up forthwith into a formless, limitless void, vibrating with the seeds of a new world. Yes.
So this is the... because it's a different world, whereas human beings live in that.
Yes.
We think it is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
Spirituality is all for retirement. When the only place you can apply is Yamaraj. Probably he will also not take the application. He will say, my Yamduts have already not listed you. Too late. After all, he is also a god. He has his Maryada. Yamaraj doesn't go to pick up anyone and everyone, by the way. In Savitri's case, the story goes like that. That first the Yamduts go. They look at Savitri, they run away. They say, we can't go near this guy. Whose name? Check your roster. So then he says, no, his time has come. We can't go. So then Yamraj himself comes. Because he knows they can't take. So, retirement time is only for applying there. Accustomed to a blue infinity. So on one side it's not accustomed to this life here, but so accustomed to that world.
Yeah.
It soars in that world so naturally, so freely. Remember that poem of Sri Aurobindo, the blue bird? I am the god of bird in his blue, divinely high and clear. And she is singing the note.
Yes.
And that's why, you see another line in Savitri, eternity speaks, none hears its word. A voice ill-heard shall speak, the soul obey. So slowly it is now that people are beginning to read Sri Aurobindo, that understanding is coming, but during that time, because he brought the truth from such a high plane. That is the sign of the divine consciousness, such a powerful truth in its completeness.
And look at the world in 1950
Yes.
and now.
It planed in sunlit sky and starlit air, even at night. Planed. This high winged thought. They are moving in that realm. It saw afar the unreached immortal's home. So it is a privy to these truths, including the home. This is where possibly some of the seers stood. And from there they saw afar. That's how Yagnaval cries out. Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham tattvam pushanna pavranu satya dharmaya tishtaya. I want to know the law of truth because he could see from afar that there is a truth there, but it's covered with a golden lid.
But in this kingdom of and Godheads of the little mind, they are looking up.
Yes, now because he's now
Now,
concluding
yes.
it that from
Yes.
the highest reaches you can see it.
Yes.
And heard afar the voices of the gods, iconoclast and shatterer of time's forts. So one of the signs is they are not trapped in tradition. Look at, if you read through Swami Vivekananda's writings, often a traditional Hindu thought usurps Swami Vivekananda. If you read through the writings, he has broken apart. He releases the spirit of Hinduism, which is the pure Vedanta. But he breaks all the forms in which it is caught. Iconoclast, because it shatters those forms, narrow forms, limited forms. You can't tie them to a religion. You see, Guru Nanak, when he is going, now people make a religion out of everything, it's a different story. So it seems that he slept, he was sleeping, and that time, all this Muslim invasion, all this was going on. So one of them told, hey, you don't sleep like this, your feet are turned towards Mecca. He said, oh, is it so? Which way is Mecca? He said, that way is Mecca. So he says, okay, I'll turn my feet. So when he turns the feet, this man starts seeing Mecca there. So wherever direction, it's a story.
Yes, yes.
He turns his feet, he sees Mecca there. That's why when Kabir is asked about Tirtha, going to holy places, he says, where I step my feet, that is a Tirtha.
Yes.
Jahan pag dharun so Tirath. Because I am calling the Lord's name. Tirath is not just a... And that's why he had put in his will, I don't want to die in Varanasi. Where he chose to die? He chose to die in a place called Maghai, where it is told that if you die, you will straight go to hell. He chose to do it. Iconoclast. It is said that to his guru, Dharmdas, he went one day and the guru was indulging in all this puja, and Kabir goes and throws them away, all of them. These beings are very different. I mean, Champaklalji, when he went to this place, I won't name the place, where Sri Aurobindo's relics are there and all the pictures of all the gods and goddesses, as he entered the place, he started picking up and throwing those photographs. It's a real story. He just started picking up. Because it's not about gods and goddesses. When you have the Supreme, where are you distracted? When he went to Hong Kong, they were singing bhajans. And suddenly he gets up and started walking out. So Gerard was telling me, he was with him. So he ran out. Maharaj, where are you going? No, he is not speaking anything. He is going. He catches all of me. By then all of them are coming and running and saying, but we were singing bhajans to God. So Champaklalji asks a note right there. Not the God that I know. Vital gods. They are a shatterer of all these limited form, but they release the truth inside. When Mother speaks of Krishna, she is not speaking of the Krishna of the Krishna Janmashtami and the Vaishnavites. She is speaking of Krishna as he is in his reality. Yes. When they speak of Christ, it's not the Christ who is crucified in the church, but the truth of Christ. That is how they are iconoclast.
There is a line where he says, I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have strange gods before me.
Yes. And of course, this is one level. They have gone much higher. But in the very first few steps, one could see from here that these beings, because they are living in a very large and free air, iconoclast and shatterer of time's forts, overleaping limit and exceeding norm, it lit the thoughts that glow through the centuries and moved to acts of superhuman force. So these beings bring changes, revolutionary changes. That is their work. They can start with anything, but they will change the whole face of things. Like Sri Ramakrishna in his own life showed that how whether you take this approach or that approach, something which we have read in the Vedas. But he showed that you can practice, if you have that true, sincere aspiration, you will arrive at the same divine. So they come to shatter the fixed norms, formulas, and ways of thinking.
And I have seen recently on YouTube early videos of Raman Maharshi. And there are so many new things coming out on YouTube. Vivekananda,
Yes,
Ramakrishna.
yes. All of them, invariably, because they have seen something much afar and they want to manifest that.
Yes.
They are born to manifest that. And so they go beyond the frame of time in which, tradition has captured God and infinity and given it a fixed form.
Yes.
They go beyond it. As far as its self-winged airplanes could fly, visiting the future in great brilliant raids, it reconnoitered vistas of dream fate. Again, I am reminded of two little poems. One of Sri Aurobindo, which is a poem in Bengali but translated in English, where he speaks of the Buddhist and the Vaishnavites. And he says, you think you know Krishna and you know Buddha. And then he speaks of Buddha. He says, Buddha is strong and mighty, tramples over desire. And you are just sitting with a shaven head. Even Kabir spoke like that. Kesh badhaye jogi ban gele bakra. He spoke like that. You think by increasing your hairs, you can realize the divine. The divine is not measured by the size of your beard. Then in another place he says to Muslims also, Kakar Partar jod ke masjid lai banaye. Ta chadi mulla bang de kya behra hua khuda hai. Imagine those days, he is saying, you have built a place to call God by assembling these bricks and mortar. Kakar Partar jod ke masjid. And from there, like a cock in the morning, you are shouting. You think that God is deaf? I mean, and Sri Aurobindo is called Guru Nanak and Kabir as great saints. Look at the iconoclasts they were,
Yeah.
And another one which I remember is Subramanyam Bharati's poem Kannan, My Disciple. Please read it. It's an amazing poem. It's about that, he has all these ideas about morality, right, wrong, good, bad. And one day, one child is brought to him that is a very difficult child, very mischievous. Can you teach him? So he says, okay. So he starts teaching him. But this child starts questioning, now he is Krishna, Kannan, And Krishna has come to him to help him break his ideas about life. It's a long poem, so sweet, so lovely, and he tries all methods, ultimately gives up and says, you go, I can't. And when he is in that state of helplessness, says, I give up. Then Kannan comes and says, okay, now give me my homework, I am going to do it. So he says, what happened? He says, because I had come to change you, I had come to shatter all these things inside you. Now my task is done, I'll behave like a good boy. It's an amazing poem, very, very sweet and beautiful. Subramanyam Bharati, of course, its original is Tamil, but the English translation is available. Kannan, my disciple or student. It is there on Aroma. I had read this poem in Hall of Harmony, for those long back. As far as its self-winged airplanes could fly. Why? Look at it. Sri Aurobindo is putting air dash planes, because he's not talking of these airplanes.
Hyphenated, self-winged,
yeah.
and hyphenated
Yes.
airplanes.
So, I mean, there's so many suggestions in each word. Self-winged, not something which is grafted from outside and made to prop up. Visiting the future in great, brilliant raids, it reconnoitered vistas of dream fate. Look at it, great, brilliant raids, as if, you are going unannounced and dream fate. It is reconnoitering. It is going and looking at it like a great bird. Apt to conceive, unable to attain. So this is where now a gap comes in these realms also. They can see, they can understand, they can know, but they do not have the power to change. That was one of the problem with Vedantic thought. It can take you to great heights, but the power to change this world is a different line altogether. That will come later on. It drew its concept maps and vision plans too large for the architecture of mortal space. Beyond in wideness where no footing is, an imagist of bodiless ideas, ideas which have not even taken the form of thoughts, imagist of the bodiless ideas, impassive to the cry of life and sense, a pure thought mind surveyed the cosmic act, watching the works of time. There are beings like that. We are moved by small things or big things or this event, this circumstance, that circumstance. It's a pure thought mind which is just watching all the events pass by.
What does Mother say? When you can become aware of
Conscious
the
of
whole
the
world
whole world at the same
time,
then you can become conscious of the divine. Watching this whole play, archangel of a white transcending realm. So now comes this archangel. Archangels, I think, are those which arch over the angels, the greater angels, not the lesser ones, the greater angels.
Yes.
So I have my understanding as arching over the angels. It makes it easy for me to remember.
Good way to remember.
This is not how it is described. But I remember when I read it, this is how I had understood.
The warriors.
Yeah, they are warriors. Yes, they are warriors. That's right. Archangel of a white transcending realm. It saw the world from solitary heights, luminous in a remote and empty air. With this we end Canto 10. It's a beautiful way to start the new year. We enter into Canto 11, the kingdoms and godheads of the greater mind. So nice close to 2018. We leave behind the little mind. We enter the greater mind with the coming year, because anyways it's the year of the Superman.
Any questions?
Any questions we can, yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why did you say next year is the year of the Superman?
Oh yes, it's a good question. I had deliberately not said the full thing. I thought I'll keep it for the next week. But no, it's okay. Yeah, it would probably many persons. See, many people have stopped with 1956. So you see the celebration, 29th February and so on and so forth. But Mother didn't stop with 1956. She went forward. There was a great event on 13th, 14th April night in 1962.
12:30.
12-13. She describes that, which is an amazing event, which is, has far-reaching repercussions. That's when she says it is done.
Yes.
The victory has been won. Then another great event was even in 1958, when material nature chooses to collaborate. But in 1969, 1st January, she speaks of the descent of the Superman. And initially she says that it's a new consciousness which has come, and she's trying to identify whether it's the supramental being. But on 4th January or so, she confirms it is the Superman consciousness, which is the intermediary between the human consciousness and the supramental being. So Superman will find the way. It takes away the entire this question about who will be the guru. The Superman consciousness is there as a mentor. The word used is benevolent mentor and guide, and it will do it what is necessary to those who have turned towards Mother and Sri Aurobindo. It will lead them to discover the ways even for the physical transformation. This is what Sri Aurobindo says.
Mother called him the Surom.
Yeah, the Surom, that's the French word. And of course there are debates on whether to call it Overman or Superman, but because Superman word has been consistently used by Sri Aurobindo, and this is the intermediary consciousness between the human consciousness and the supramental. And we see here as we go into the greater mind that actually many of the attributes of the Superman we'll find it here. So 1st January 1969, so this is the Golden Jubilee. And I think everybody forgot in the 75th year of the school that there is a Golden Jubilee of such a great event.
They asked Nolini about the Superman.
Yes.
And he said, it may be you, it may even be me.
Yeah, and he said he's just round the corner because Superman is already manifested. And he is working. And if we read through, in fact, All India Magazine January issue is on Superman. For those who want to, get all the details, precisely because it's the 50th year.
I had advance notice.
Okay. Yes, you had an advance notice from Nalida. Superman was the first book, of course, Synthesis I bought, but the first book I received from someone, and very strangely, it's a very beautiful little story that someone said, I'll give you some book from Sri Aurobindo's this thing, pulled out a book and gave to me. So I opened it and the Superman, but guess what? It's signed by Sri Aurobindo with blessings.
Oh.
I said, first I hesitated, should I tell him that it's signed? I said, no, I can't just, so I told him because I know how precious. So he looked at it, he didn't know that it is signed by Sri Aurobindo. And then he said, well, now it has come to you, so I guess it has to go to you. The first book signed by Sri Aurobindo that I received, Superman, with blessings. So you see how the Lord can work and reach out anywhere, wherever you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.